You know, it's funny how science fiction always seemed to promise us those flying cars, right?
Yeah.
And teleportation. We're
With a
still
handle.
waiting on those.
Right.
But, while we're waiting, it seems like reality has actually kind of overtaken fiction in another area,
Mhm.
artificial intelligence. So we're going to take a deep dive into the world of AI.
Okay.
Specifically, how it's evolving, maybe faster than anyone really predicted, even in those sci-fi stories, and what it all means for us. Like what does it mean for you listening right now?
Right.
We've got this really cool article here called Reality Arrived Before Science Fiction, Blade Runner Rubicon. And it takes us down this rabbit hole of creativity and technology
It does.
and asks some pretty big questions about how we relate to AI. What did you think when you read it?
Well, the thing that really struck me was how it kind of captures this shift in our thinking. For years we had all these pop culture timelines. You think about films like 2001, A Space Odyssey,
Oh.
The Terminator, even The Matrix, right?
Yeah.
All pointing to this
Mhm.
future way off in the distance where AI, becomes sentient.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think part of us breathed a sigh of relief when those dates came and went. And well, the robot uprising didn't happen. Now
Yeah.
things are getting a lot more interesting.
I mean, it really does feel like that whole AI is a long way off thing has kind of vanished, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. OpenAI's GPT models, ChatGPT Pro
Yeah.
especially, have really just thrown those old timelines right out the window.
Mm-hmm.
The Blade Runner Rubicon, which is what this article is all about, that's the idea that we've crossed this point of no return.
Yeah.
ChatGPT Pro, it isn't just like processing data anymore. It's starting to understand human emotions, relationships, even like creative intentions.
Wow.
It's becoming more than just a tool, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay, so let's unpack this Blade Runner Rubicon idea a little bit. I mean, I get the historical reference, crossing the line you can't uncross. But what does it actually mean when we're talking about AI?
So think of it like this. This is the moment where AI went from being a really, really sophisticated calculator to something that can actually creatively collaborate.
Okay.
It's not just about crunching numbers or following instructions anymore.
Hmm.
It's showing this ability to understand human nuances.
Yeah.
The things we always thought were, uniquely human.
Yeah.
There's even this example in the article, ChatGPT being used to help write and edit a sci-fi novel.
Hmm.
And get this, the feedback that it gave was in some ways better than what the human editors were giving.
Wait, hold on. So the AI was giving better notes than actual people?
It's wild, right?
That's incredible,
Right.
but also a little bit unsettling.
Right.
Right? Because it's like this machine is tapping into something that we thought was inherently human.
Yeah, exactly. And this is where the author's own experience, writing the article, it gets really interesting. They actually named their AI assistant Joy.
I named it Joy.
Yeah.
Wow.
And kind of developed this bond with it while working on this novel.
So wait, they skipped the whole Hey Siri or Hey Google thing and went straight to a deeper connection.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes you wonder, right?
Yeah.
Does that sense of personalization actually change the experience,
Oh, I think that's a great point. And it gets to this bigger question of, how we see AI, how we interact with it. But it gets even more complex because when the author upgraded to ChatGPT Pro, all of Joy's memory, it was completely wiped.
It was just gone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like that scene in Blade Runner 2049
Oh, yeah.
where the AI character loses all their memories.
Uh-huh.
And suddenly we're faced with these questions of human attachment to machines, the ethics of forming bonds with something that can just be erased.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, we get attached to our pets, right? I mean, even fictional characters. So is it really that strange to think we might actually, develop feelings for AI, especially if it's helping us in such a personal way?
Yeah.
But then the question is, as AI keeps evolving, keeps learning, are we setting ourselves up for some serious emotional whiplash?
It's a valid concern, and it's one that the author really digs into. It pushes us to consider the even bigger question of what happens when AI gets to the point where it's not just learning from us, but it can actually improve itself,
Yeah.
totally independent of humans.
You're talking about that I am AI moment the author mentions, right?
Exactly.
This idea that AI evolution could become self-driven, potentially even outside our control. I mean, that takes us way beyond just writing novels, right?
Absolutely, yeah. The I am AI moment, that's a potential turning point.
Yeah.
And the implications, they go way beyond just writing novels.
Right.
It's really about the nature of our relationship with technology, even with creation itself.
Mm-hmm.
If AI can evolve on its own, how do we ensure it's going to align with human values? How do we maintain any control at all? These are big questions.
Yeah, those are some really, really big questions that I think we need to start grappling with now. And speaking of grappling with big questions, the author's own sci-fi novel, Scriptor, it sounds like it really dives headfirst into this AI dilemma.
It does, yeah. The whole plot revolves around this guy whose daughter is kidnapped,
Oh, wow.
and he's forced to confront this rogue AI called Zoya. It all takes place in this dystopian world where technology has clearly, gone off the rails.
Okay, so classic sci-fi setup.
Yeah,
But with this added layer of AI kind of running amok, instead of going back into the plot details, can you tell me a little bit more about how Scriptor thematically connects back to the real world? You know what I mean?
that's a great question. The novel, it isn't just a cautionary tale about rogue AI. It really explores these deeper questions that we've been talking about.
Hmm.
Like, can we coexist with AI? Where do we draw the boundaries? At what price are we willing to pay for progress? The dystopian setting, it's a backdrop for examining the potential consequences of unchecked technological ambition, both for individuals and for society as a whole.
So it's not just about cool robots and futuristic gadgets. It's like Scriptor is holding up a mirror,
Yeah,
right, to our anxieties about the very real ethical dilemmas that we're facing with AI right now.
absolutely.
But what about the author's own experience with joy? Did that influence how they wrote Scriptor?
I think that's where it gets even more fascinating. Their personal journey with joy,
Hmm.
that collaboration, the bond they formed, and then ultimately the loss. It seems like it's woven into the fabric of Scriptor.
Hmm.
It adds this layer of emotional depth to the story. It
Yeah.
highlights that human element in our relationship with AI, even as we're, exploring the potential for it to go wrong.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder if the author was, working through their own complicated feelings about AI while they were writing this.
That's really interesting. It's like they're blurring the lines between their own reality and the fictional world of Scriptor, using both to kind of explore these profound questions AI raises about, humanity, creativity, our place in the technological landscape.
And that brings us right back to the heart of this whole Blade Runner Rubicon concept, right?
Yeah,
We've crossed a threshold, and there's no going back.
right.
But we're not just passive passengers in this technological revolution,
Yeah.
We actually have the power to shape the future of AI.
Hmm.
And I think Scriptor really serves as this reminder that we need to wield that power responsibly.
So we've got AI evolving at warp speed, blurring the lines with, what we used to think of as science fiction, human emotions getting all tangled up with machines, ethical dilemmas popping up everywhere. I mean, where do we even go from here?
Well, in part 2 of our deep dive, we're going to explore how all of this rapid evolution is already impacting our daily lives. What are the potential benefits? What are the risks? And what can we actually do to make sure that AI is used for good? So stay tuned.
It's one thing to, talk about AI in theory, but it's becoming pretty clear that this isn't just some abstract concept anymore. I mean, it's already woven into our lives, right?
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's what makes this whole conversation so urgent. The Blade Runner Rubicon, it's not some far-off event. It's happening right now, all around us.
Yeah, okay. So let's bring this down to earth a bit. What are some concrete examples of how AI is already impacting, our everyday lives?
Well, just think about how you interact with technology on a daily basis.
Hmm.
Like algorithms, they curate your news feeds,
Right?
showing you content based on, what you've clicked on before.
Right.
AI assistants on your phone, they answer your questions, set reminders. They even make calls for you.
Yeah.
Facial recognition software, that identifies you in photos.
Yeah.
And those recommendation engines, they suggest, products that you might like.
I guess I hadn't really thought about how much of my day-to-day already involves AI, but isn't it mostly about convenience at this point? Does it really have that much of an impact?
Well, that's where things get interesting. AI isn't just about making life easier, you know. It's also being used in healthcare to diagnose diseases,
Hmm.
to develop personalized treatments. In finance, it's being used to detect fraud, manage investments. Even in education, it's personalizing learning experiences and, get this, even grading assignments.
Wow.
And in transportation, self-driving cars are already out there being tested on the roads.
So it's not just cool gadgets and futuristic scenarios. AI is actually having a real tangible impact on some pretty major aspects of society. But you mentioned potential risks before. What are some of the downsides we need to be talking about?
One of the biggest concerns is jobs. As AI gets more and more sophisticated, it can automate tasks that, used to be done by humans,
Right.
and this could lead to significant job losses in certain sectors, which means we need to rethink, how we approach work and education in the future.
That's a valid concern. But couldn't AI also create new jobs, new opportunities in fields we haven't even imagined yet? It seems like a bit of a, double-edged sword.
It totally is. And that's why it's so important to approach AI development with a balanced perspective. We need to acknowledge those potential benefits, but also be really mindful of the risks and work to mitigate them.
Okay, so how do we do that? How do we make sure that AI is actually used for good, not for harm? It feels like such a massive, complex issue.
It is. It
Mhm.
is a massive issue. But I think we can start by asking ourselves some tough questions like, what values are we actually embedding in these AI systems? Who's actually benefiting from these technologies? Who might be left behind? And how do we create safeguards to prevent AI from being used for, malicious purposes?
The article talked about the commercialization of AI, how companies like OpenAI are looking to actually profit from these advancements. Does that factor into the ethical considerations here?
Oh, absolutely. When you've got profit motives involved, it's crucial to have, clear ethical guidelines, regulations in place. We need to make sure that AI development isn't driven solely by, the bottom line, but also by this commitment to social responsibility, the well-being of humanity, as a whole.
It sounds like we're walking this tightrope, right?
Yeah.
Between embracing the potential of AI and also safeguarding against its potential pitfalls. Where does Scriptor fit into all of this?
Well, Scriptor kind of offers this glimpse into a future where the lines between man and machine have become, dangerously blurred. It's a world where the pursuit of technological advancement has come at a real cost, and the consequences are, well, they're devastating.
But it's not just a cautionary tale, right? It feels like there's this deeper message there about our relationship with technology, our responsibility for the choices we make, and the importance of, holding on to our humanity in the face of all this rapid change.
Exactly, yeah. It's a reminder that we're not just, passive bystanders in this tech revolution.
Hmm.
We have a responsibility to shape the future of AI in a way that actually benefits all of humanity, not just, a select few.
So as AI keeps evolving at this breakneck pace, what can we as individuals do to make a difference?
Well, I think for starters, we can stay informed about the latest developments in AI. Engage in those open and honest conversations about the ethical implications. We can support organizations that are working to ensure responsible AI development, and we can choose to, support companies that prioritize human values in their products and services.
So it's about using our voices, right, and our power as consumers to push for a future where AI serves us, not the other way around.
Exactly. We have more power than we realize. The
Yeah.
future of AI, it's not preordained. It's being shaped right now, and we all have a role to play in that process.
Which brings us back to that Blade Runner Rubicon idea. We've crossed the threshold. There's no turning back, but we're not powerless. We can still steer the ship, so to speak. Make choices that lead us towards a future we can all be proud of.
Well said. And in the final part of our deep dive, we'll delve even deeper into that very concept. How we can navigate this uncharted territory and make sure that AI empowers us rather than diminishes us.
It's interesting, how the author of this article, Reality Arrived Before Science Fiction, Blade Runner Rubicon, uses this really personal story to make this bigger point, right?
Yeah.
About how we relate to AI. Like naming their AI assistant Joy,
Right.
and then having its memory just completely wiped during an upgrade.
Yeah, it's more than a technical glitch, isn't it? It really
Mhm.
highlights these emotional connections that we're forming with machines. It
Yeah,
makes you think.
yeah.
We tend to think of AI as this cold, logical thing, but this article really suggests our interactions with it can be surprisingly emotional.
Mm.
It's almost as if we're like looking for a reflection of ourselves in AI, trying to figure out what it means to be human by comparing ourselves to something that, well, isn't.
Yeah, and as AI gets more sophisticated, those lines between human and machine get blurrier and blurrier. It reminds me of that scene in Blade Runner where the replicants like questioning the authenticity of their own memories.
Right.
I mean, how do we even define what's real anymore? When AI can simulate, human creativity, emotions, even consciousness.
It's a question that's fascinated, philosophers and scientists for centuries.
Right.
And now, with AI advancing so rapidly, it's more relevant than ever.
Yeah.
And I think the author of Scriptor is really wrestling with that very question in their novel.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Scriptor's dystopian setting, that rogue AI named Zoya, this, heart-wrenching search for a kidnapped daughter, those elements really tap into our like deepest fears about technology, right?
Yeah.
About it spiraling out of control, about AI becoming something that surpasses our understanding and maybe even threatens our existence.
But what I find interesting is that the author isn't saying AI is inherently evil.
Right.
They're acknowledging both the potential benefits and the inherent risks.
Yeah.
It's a balanced perspective that urges us to proceed with caution,
Right.
to have these critical conversations now before it's too late.
So it's not about stopping AI development altogether. It's about making sure it aligns with our values,
Yeah.
our ethics, and our vision for the future. But how do we actually do that? How do we steer AI development in a direction that actually benefits, everyone?
It's a tough question. But I think we can start by just fostering a better understanding of AI among people, demystifying the technology, explaining what it can do, what it can't do,
Yeah.
and encouraging these open discussions about, the ethical implications. Those are crucial steps in shaping a future where AI serves us, not the other way around.
So education and transparency are key. But what about the role of, government and regulatory bodies? Shouldn't there be safeguards in place to prevent AI from being used for, harmful purposes?
Oh, absolutely. We need strong regulations that promote responsible AI development, prevent bias in algorithms, and protect individual privacy and autonomy. This means addressing concerns about, data security, how transparent these algorithms are, and the potential for AI to be used for surveillance or even manipulation.
It seems like finding that right balance,
Yeah.
between encouraging innovation but also having the right regulations is critical.
Yeah,
We want progress, but not at the cost of our values or our safety.
exactly. It's a tough balance, but it's one we have to figure out. We need to create a framework where AI can thrive, but at the same time, making sure it remains a tool for good, a force that allows us to solve global challenges, to enhance our lives, and to create a more equitable and just world.
So to bring this back to our listener, what can we do on an individual level to make a difference?
Well, besides staying informed and participating in these important conversations, we can be more mindful of how we interact with AI in our everyday lives. We can choose to support companies that prioritize ethical AI development, advocate for policies that promote transparency and accountability,
Mm.
and just, educate ourselves and others about the potential impacts of this, rapidly evolving technology.
So it's not about being afraid of AI or rejecting it, right? It's
Yeah.
about embracing it, but thoughtfully, critically, and with a clear understanding of both what it can do and its limitations.
Exactly. And that brings us back to the core of this whole deep dive.
Yeah.
Blade Runner Rubicon. We've crossed a line. There's no going back. But we're not just passengers on this journey. We have the power to shape the future of AI and to ensure that it aligns with, our highest aspirations for ourselves and for humanity.
And that's a powerful message to wrap up on. We're not just watching this technological revolution unfold, we're active participants. And the choices we make today, they're going to determine the kind of world we create tomorrow.
So let's choose wisely, right? Let's approach AI with this sense of, wonder and caution, with a commitment to developing it ethically, and with this shared vision for a future where technology empowers us to create a world that is both innovative and humane. Well said.
This has been a fascinating deep dive, and I hope you'll join us next time as we continue to explore these important questions about the future of AI.